The tendency to hot and dry summers and the high fuel load that can exist in eucalypt forests means that they're very prone to combusting in a rather dramatic way. So as we live in the midst of the forest, there are steps that we take every year to check that we are prepared in the case of a fire. Even though we might hope every year for a wet summer and a low fire risk summer, it never pays to be complacent. So every year we go over these list of things and check that they are ready and prepared. The first thing that we do is to maintain our fire break. Around our property, around the fenced area that is, we have a 8 to 10 metre fire break, and this needs to be maintained generally by mowing at least once a year, but certainly in preparation for the fire season. This gives a bit of a stand back from the forest, and hopefully in a smaller fire would give us some space to control it. The second thing that we do is to remove any combustible materials that are around the house area. Around buildings you tend to build up leaves, but eucalyptus shed leaves all through the year, and they often blow against a building, and that's an extreme fire risk, and so it's worthwhile to clean these away from wherever they may be. Also, look at your gardens. Sometimes areas in a garden can get woody and old and become a fire risk in themselves, so those need to be cleaned away and refreshed with some new plants. Now, we built our house out of colorbond, which is a high fire resistant way of building, but even still there are some elements around a house that need to be put in place to protect it from fire. One of the first things that we did was to put gutter guard on our gutters, because with eucalypt trees close by it, they will build up leaves very quickly and create an extreme fire risk in the gutters, and so it will go into your house. Having gutter guard means that you don't build up the leaves in the first place, and you don't have the regular task of cleaning gutters. Also, as we collect our rainwater, this means that we have better quality water as well. The other area is under a bushfire, you'll be under ember attack. So roller doors are a factor, and so we need to check our ember seals and make sure that they are in good condition and going to seal the doors effectively. The fourth area that we have and test is our active defence systems. Now, while you may have in plan the concept that you're going to leave your house and abandon it to a fire and rely on home insurance to replace it, circumstances don't always mean that that's possible. So you need to have active defence systems in place to protect your house, because that may be the way you're going to save your own life. Our systems that we have are a sprinkler system for the roof of the house. This is basically to shed embers off the roof, keep it cool, keep things like our solar panels and windows cool. Now, our sprinkler system is composed of butterfly sprinklers across the roof, and the pipes are polypipe. Now, some people say that's not acceptable for a bushfire sprinkler system. My reasoning and argument is that if polypipe with water flowing through it is going to melt, then nothing is going to save my house from the fire. With water flowing through it, it has a very high resistance to melting. So we have a dedicated tank. It can also tap our main rainwater tank as well, and we have an electric pump. It's a high volume pump that will put around about 200 litres a minute across the roof of our house. Now, some people question the fact that our pump is electric and would say that you need to use a fuel powered pump. As our electricity is off-grid solar, we're not dependent on mains, and so it's not going to go down, and that makes electric the most reliable and quickest way to actually turn the pump on and activate the system. This means that we have around 30 minutes to an hour that we can actually deliver water across the house, and protect us from extreme ember attack. Now this of course needs to be tested, because butterfly sprinklers block up, wasps get in there and put their nests in there and are not always functional, so you need to check it from time to time and make sure it's actually going to work effectively if that day ever comes that you need it. We also have a hydrant hose attached to this system, so that if we needed it, we could use it to put out a spot fire in that area. Realistically, we need to have more of these hydrant hoses in place, and that's something we need to look at in the future. The final element is personal equipment. Now, we have here woolen blankets, which could be wet and used as a fire retardant for oneself. Some towels, which also could be wet, soaked in water and placed around doors. Masks. I have a pair in here. I probably should have a couple of extra for the children. These are ones that will keep the smoke off, so good in a bushfire. I've also thrown in some space blankets as a heat retardant, something that you could wrap around yourself perhaps and use a woolen blanket if you're in a hot situation. What probably needs to be added to this is gloves and some overalls and that type of thing. So a couple of things to add to it this year. So they're the things that we look over each year and check to ensure that we have some preparation at least if the worst should come. It doesn't pay to be complacent. We all need to be prepared should bushfire happen and have some plan in place. I think just about any preparation is better than none at all. We all place some preparation for a house fire, even though our risk of experiencing a house fire in our lifetime is probably only 1 in 100. We still put in things like smoke alarms, and we have home insurance, which costs us quite a bit each year. So it is worth investing in some preparation for bushfire too. So hopefully this has given you some ideas as to what you can do to protect your home.